That is going to be one of the number one sign that you're a chosen one. When you always run into people who are asking you things such as, well, how do you know what you know? How is it possible? Nobody knew this. Nobody even thought about that. How did you guess? That kind of stuff. But you simply know. You just know. Chosen ones, you're most likely an individual who is very insightful. What is it? Is that the proper word for that? You have abilities that many people cannot understand. You have things that you do, things that you understand. And people will always ask you, you may be running into people who will always ask you things such as, how do you know what you know? That is going to be one of the number one sign that you're a chosen one. When you always run into people who are asking you things such as, well, how do you know what you know? How is it possible? Nobody knew this. Nobody even thought about that. How did you guess? That kind of stuff. But you simply know. You just know. So when I used to deal with a narcissistic individual, back in those years, I didn't know what narcissism was. So I didn't know that sometimes there's people that are mentally retarded. I didn't know that there was people who was emotionally unstable. And for them, your A was a B. Their B was your C. You was going left, they was going right. And sometimes I dealt with people and I would ask them sometimes if we had something, a proposition about something. Let's say we're going to go do this today. I always had people who was like, no, we cannot do that. Let us go this way. So me at some point I was like, okay, if you believe that's the best way to go, let us follow. Let us go with let us go with your opinion. Let us go with the option. I would agree to go with their option. And ladies and gentlemen, it never ended well. So I could follow along. I could say, okay, we have done what you wanted to do, and you saw it didn't end well. Next time, let's try my way. Intuitively, because there are some things you just simply know intuitively, and you don't have to be a Superman or something to understand these things. There are some things they don't need rocket science, but sometimes it's because some people just simply do not have that emotional intelligence like you do. So most of the times you find yourself dragging. It's like you're pulling a rope. They're pulling the rope towards their direction. You're pulling the rope towards your direction. And the both of you seem to be in some kind of a battle. Who is going to be the right one? And when you're sometimes dealing with toxic people, they have always tried to be the right ones. So whatever it is you had to say wasn't valid. That is exactly what used to happen when you was dealing with these narcissistic people. So people are always going to be baffled because you have got a different level of intelligence, the way you see the world. Because you see, when you see the world, you see through your lens. It's not the same world that people see through their lens. You guys have different types of lenses. You're not using the same lens. It feels like you're wearing an extra pair of glasses. You can clearly see that this person is going to mess up. Let them not do this. Let them not go that way. They're going to mess up. You tell them that thing won't work. Try this one. Okay, it doesn't always mean that you're perfect, but intuitively you just know some things. And if you're a chosen one, you have actually have had so many scenarios in your life where people always ask you things. How did you know? It was, for example, a relationship. And you have already looked through the partner they are dating or the person that they are going to be married to. You have told them that person you're dating will not be the best person for you. Maybe you have seen something they don't see yet, or you have felt something they don't feel yet. So you may sometimes warn them. But they're always going to think that you're taking a piece, or sometimes you're taking them for a ride. and they will not listen. And ladies and gentlemen, before you know it, they came back to you and they confirmed that same thing you told them about that particular individual, they saw it happening in real time. So most of the times, you just simply don't know how you know some things. It feels like you have already lived a certain life, and you keep on having this feeling of knowing things or seeing things without knowing what you know, why you know, but you just know. So that may be the answer that you're always going to give to people. How do you know this? How did you know that? I do not know how I know, but I know. And sometimes it's a bit scary for some people, because if you're dealing with a person who almost can see through everything, it scares them, because they're like, what are they dealing with? You know, are you some kind of a witch? Are you a prophet? Are you this or are you that? People are telling you things like that because they can feel some energy, a presence around you that simply can look through everything. So if a chosen one who has been, for example, you had this family, or you grew up in this family, and those people were like, hey, when you wanted to speak something, to say something, they preferred that you didn't say anything at all, because somehow they knew what you was going to say was the truth. It was most likely going to be the most accurate thing they have ever had. So sometimes they may have shut you up. They never wanted you to speak much. Even sometimes your presence wasn't pretty much welcome, because it was always your presence that usually told them about some things that they didn't even understand. They couldn't understand, but they realized there was the truth. The chosen one vibrates at the frequency of truth, not in the sense they are perfect. I always like to put that quote, but they are operating from their heart center, and they are actually saying their truth. And sometimes that truth is exactly what you're sharing with these people, but those people do not want to understand. They do not want to take your truth, because they have got a different version of their own truth. So it will keep on baffling so many people around you, chosen ones. They will never really understand your level of intelligence. They will never understand your level of discernment. A chosen person tends to have that discernment. Yes, discernment can be in levels. It can be at a level that is low, maybe low discernment is what even got you in very many toxic relationships. But sometimes along a journey, you may develop high discernment, okay? Your discernment could be at 100. You see things before they happen. You might have insights, visions. You might have a knowing of something, just simply knowing certain stuff. And when you do share that thing with people, they will never believe you until they actually see what you told them was the truth. So that's exactly what is really happening. Is because you have got a very deep insight. You have got a high level of emotional intelligence, and you're a very simple person. You're not normally the loudest man in the room. A chosen person is not the loudest man in the room. They're not those guys, with all these muscles, and all those guys that are, everybody talks about in town. No, they're the quietest guys in town, but they really know what time it is. On a really spiritual level, they are very much tuned in, and they will always know things that sometimes they don't know how they know, even sometimes they shouldn't, but they just know. And sometimes when you know things, you can't unknow them. Okay? So that's the life of a chosen one. Maybe that kind of experience has happened to you. Let us know in the comments below. You guys know I always love and appreciate your support. Please book a session if you want to. You may donate or support my channel if you want to. Everything you need, you will find it in the description below. And until then, I will see you guys in my next one. There's almost signing out. Much love and blessings. Peace.